Hello, friends. It is a work day, but I have also had a few requests. What my take is on the new patch release, specifically for the lab books. So I'm just going to do a very, very concise run through of those in case anyone is intrigued. You should all have access to the books by now. Full disclaimer: I have had the books for a week and a bit since Ninth Age is got more leaks than an onion farm. But I'm just going to go through them kind of very briefly, one at a time, 6 minutes each, since I know you probably don't want to watch a massively long video, and just kind of go through the highlights. Things that I'm bearing in mind when I'm looking here are obviously these are the lab army books, which means that they're kind of like the problem children in the Ninth Age family. They tend to obviously have the most creative new sets of rules, therefore also the most inherent risk therein. Um, I think obviously Infernal Dwarves, Demons, and Warriors of Dark Gods are not dropping until sometime in December. I've seen a few rumors and stuff about those, but I think they're going to be much less tumultuous than these four most recent labs. So I've read the Saurian Ancients book quite a lot. I've got a lot more thoughts about that. Obviously, I'm more invested as a Saurian player, whereas the Vermin Kingdom and Dread Elves books, I've just kind of skimmed through and chatted a bit about. So I know a few of the changes there, but I will go through very quickly, try and be efficient. So without further ado, let's get into it, shall we? So, Saurian Ancients. So the big problems with this book, from my point of view, why hasn't my Loom camera come across? That is so annoying. Oh well, you'll just have to enjoy my voice. So the big problem with this book was always there were two things. There were two things. There was the overly complex special rules, namely combined strength, which has now been deleted, and the other thing was the leadership thing, which for me basically made the army unplayable. I know that that's very dramatic, and a lot of people have been having success, but I just don't want to play with leadership 5 and 6 units everywhere, and like having to always be worrying about these, quasi leadership bubbles, and fleeing. And I think it was a very badly. It's a cute concept trying to keep everything together, but it didn't really feel like Saurian Ancients to me. And I was not excited about the book at all just because of this rule. Now, what they've done is they've actually done a complete 180, and Communal Bond is now Cold Blooded is back because you just get minimized roll out of the box. Um, and then you also get free Swift Freeform, which is cool. And on top of that, they're also still sharing discipline. So this is quite cool. One of the big prerogatives of this update, which I'll discuss in detail across all of these, is that the rules are being streamlined and simplified. And I think this is a really, really good initiative. One of the biggest problems with the game these days is that because of the sheer amount of exceptions and conditional rules, not only is it, um, there are more kind of like frustrating gotcha type moments because there's like an exception to something that you thought didn't apply. But the games are also slower because if you are considering all of this, then you're having to think about so many more factors and variables. Whereas just I would prefer if the game was slightly less balanced, but much less granular, just for the sake of efficiency and brevity as well. I would like to try to get back to 2.5 hour games, even 2 hour games, by just cleaning up the rules a lot. And I think that this is a really good first step on that journey for the game. So I really like the solution they came up with, removing because previously there was that combined strength rule that took like this entire page and a little bit of the next one, I think. And now it's literally just giving certain units war platform. So for example, whatever you can read, but basically the units that previously, most of the units that previously, like the turtles, um, and the Carnosaurs, they want to keep the idea of these guys going in units for this combined strength type thing. But what they've done is they just use the war platform rules. So really good solution to this. And then they've got a separate rule for Cayman mentors, which I think is great. I think Enclave Wizard rules could still be cleaned up much better. My suggestion to the team was because they've got different base sizes, different amounts of channels, different amounts of spells, different amounts of health points. It's just like this complexity creep. What I would do is I would just go to, there's like so many pages of characters and stuff. I would just go in here to the core unit and I would just add a call out box of what this champion is. Champion equals wizard apprentice with this spell, this base, and +1 HP. Like it's gonna increase the size of this page a little bit, but who cares? Like this is a PDF. It costs you nothing to print. Um, and please don't print books because you know how rapidly they change. So I just think again they've got exceptions in here. You know, sometimes it's an apprentice, sometimes it's an adept. It's better than it was, but I still think there's a little bit of room for improvement here with the Enclave Wizard rules. Um, Solitary, this has just gone to the rule book. Um, I guess as an overarching piece, we'll just try and skip ahead to the end here. You can see a lot of stuff changed. This is, I think, the second most changed book after Kingdom. Um, I think overall it's all really positive. This book is in a really awesome position right now. It looks very exciting to play. The only I won't go like item by item by item. Obviously, we're trying to keep this concise. The only kind of miss, in my opinion, was they completely neglected touching the already underplayed. Where are they? These guys, the Mystics. I just don't really see what this unit is supposed to do in the army. They don't really fight very well. They don't move very well. Their spells are kind of there. Like, I just don't see a place for this unit in the book. Um, yeah, I'm not sure what you guys want me to do with this unit. So it's a shame they didn't get a bit more love, but I guess maybe, that's a work in progress. And, they will be the target of some future update. Everything else is pretty much on track. I love that Water Strider came back in. This whole, we're naturally attuned to the elements, but we'll trip on sticks and drown in every single little puddle was just idiotic. I think asking for Forest Strider to come back on the flyers is probably a bit too much to hope for. Really like they streamlined this. They got rid of this marking bowler weapon, and now marking lure is just a generic upgrade. Um, yeah, I think there's a lot of wizard options in here. It feels almost a bit too much, but maybe that's part of the theme of the army. But yeah, overall, I think this book is in a really strong position with almost every entry being playable. Now, maybe it's even a little bit too much above the curve, but I like that you can play a lot of different play styles. By the way, one of the most interesting, okay, my timer is up. Oh, this is good. Forces me to be efficient. This Mind Shifting Mastery, I think, is one of the most interesting changes of the update, letting him cast different attributes depending on what he feels like. It's probably a bit too strong, but again, just for simplicity, I would have either preferred him to only be able to cast attributes from the paths that he has access to, or just make it all rulebook ones, because it's just like, especially for opponents, it's a little bit annoying to, like, why can't he cast evocation attribute when he has access to evocation, and why can he cast witchcraft attribute when he doesn't, or just let him cast everything. It's just, again, another little complexity tweak that it might be too strong, like, to let him cast any attribute. I don't know. But like, what else would we worry about? Blaze, 1 strength 5 hit? Maybe. For me, that would be one thing that I would have done differently if I was writing the book. So anyway, lots of choices to be made. I think this guy also got cleaned up nicely. The way that they built Channel 2 into him now, rather than making him choose. I think that's just, again, a bit cleaner. I really like that the Wardens got Discipline 8. I really like that the Cayman Elders got Discipline 8 now. So you're not like, this is finally solving the leadership problem of the army, and has pretty much reignited my interest in the entire book. So that's fantastic. Alrighty, let's restart this bad boy. All right, Vermin Swarm. This is probably the one I've looked at the least, but let's just quickly jump to the summary section. I saw, sorry, without numbers is removed. I think this is a shame. I know it was probably kind of labor intensive to keep track of, and maybe not that much fun when it went really well for you, like for the opponent. But I thought this was like one of the most thematic rules in the history of the game. So I'm pretty sad to see that this is gone, regardless if it was too strong or not. Like I said that from the start, this might end up being too strong, but god damn it, it's cool. Trial and Terror, this is probably going to be one of the most talked about things here, is just gives +1 to wound to all weapons. I love the streamlining. I think probably it's going to end up being like crazy strong on freaking area hit toxic weapons. Like, did no one think about this? I think those area hit toxic weapons are just so problematic to balance. I would probably look at just taking them out, or at least not having units of them. It just seems insane. The rest, I'm probably not too bothered about. Yeah, whatever. Some magic banners changed. Um, I think this is a shame. The Cal, although I guess just getting a random number 6 spell. Um, uh, why did you buff the Dictator? I don't understand this. Like, the Dictator is already insanely good, and now you're giving him the Holy Triumvirate as well. Like, what? I don't know. Maybe are people just not playing this? I think one of the uh, even though they say it's not a factor, the fact that this army underperformed heavily at ETC, I think has really taken the edge off what could have been a very nerf-heavy update for this book. So yeah, I suspect this is not nearly enough to kind of put this army in check. Um, Dairat, yeah, okay, so no one played this, so why bother? No, I'm not going to go too deep into this one, guys, just because I'm not overly invested in it. Um, only equipment option. Yeah, I mean, these points are kind of okay. Doomspark is up again. That's expected. That's I think fair because they're pretty annoying. The weapon teams went down. Okay, so yeah, I suspect you're going to now see many more shooting-based lists. On the Doomblade went down as well because apparently not enough people were taking it. What? Okay. Yeah, I mean, overall, I don't think this is like a massive update for the book. Um, it looks like lots of small tweaks that will probably have a large cumulative effect. But in the end, I don't think you will really see a bunch of changes in the lists that are being played. What have we got? Brutes. Really? So Fetish Brutes didn't change at all? Because Fetish Brutes for me are like one of the most horrific units out there. I'm kind of not as traumatized by that. Okay, 0 changes to Fetish Brutes. Interesting. Uh, yeah, I don't know. I just think like the big units of these with the either the Bell for the 6-up Aegis or the guy who makes them unbreakable is just like uber strong. What am I looking for? I'm looking to see that. I assume the Bell didn't really change. Dustblade Assassin. Let's look for big chunks of blue text. We've got 2 minutes left to review this book. Dark Doorways. Okay, so there's a new rulebook. But I assume that this basically just goes into the rulebook in place of hidden instead of dark doorways, which I think is another sensible move. There's a lot of armies showing special rules now, so the more we can whack them all into in the rulebook, the better. Exclusive, poison attacks. Am I looking at the right thing? Whispering Bell, yeah. Okay, yeah, no, that it's just got Deafening Clamor, which is this musician rule, so no escaping players panic. And gigantic models and constructs. Okay, so I guess the Doomspark devices aren't getting the Aegis anymore, which is fantastic because that is the most annoying thing when your freaking Doomspark on 1 wound rolls 2 6s for its thing to stay alive. And I guess that's fair enough. Yeah, okay, that's pretty good change. I'll probably call this one early, guys. I don't really have a ton of stuff to talk about in Vermin Swarm here. There are probably wiser, more experienced reviewers out there if you want to go seeking one. But overall, I think it will continue to do what it's doing. It will probably just be a lot more shooty than before because of the buffs to Trial and Terror. Also, the other thing was that I spotted the one hit the wounds automatically with Armor Penetration 2, and if Trial and Terror is used, you take 2 hits to the wound automatically. I think this is a shame that they've gone for this instead of the random amount. Because don't forget, a big part of this army's theme, or at least, back in my day, was that it is a little bit random and unpredictable. And, now it's just, and I get that, again, they're simplifying and cleaning up. But for me, if you're going to simplify it, you need to retain the overall character of the army as well. So, and little things like now the Doom Spark devices, you know that you will never kill yourself with. You know exactly how much damage you can potentially take from Trial and Terror. So I think this is a miss, unfortunately, that just kind of break the randomness of the army a bit. So anyway, probably Vermin Spawn players will be happy about that. All right, let's go next. The Kingdom. Okay, so the big problem areas here were um, conditional rules that all sounded really similar and were very easy to get confused. Uber strong characters that made Chaos Lords want to cry, and the complexity of the Horizon, whatever. And I think in general, all of this has been cleaned up pretty nicely, as well as obviously just the overall above the curve power level of the book. So this has basically been simplified. Now it's the horizons are not triggered by single models, so you don't need this 8-inch range thing. You just pick a unit in the army, which I think is fine. Again, just simplifying, because if you were building around this, then you probably had enough models and distribution across the board to trigger it anyway. On top of that, to account for the fact that it's unlimited range now, they've just kind of made the effects themselves quite a little bit weaker. Like you haven't got the stupid terror bombing thing anymore. You can't get really strong Aegis anymore. It's always at 5 up, which I think is one of the healthiest changes here. But now, in regards to the healing, there's only you actually have to expend resources now. It's not just automatic, which is, thank God, because that was just so dumb. Just like the automatic Fountain of Youth every single turn was just ridiculous to play against. A few different ways to get, again, Honesty and Courage both cleaned up now. Everything is just a flat 5+ against either magical or high AP, which is good. This is basically the same thing, just reworded. Bastard Sword, this is fantastic. Really good change to just be +1 strength and +1 AP on the charge. Instead, like, look at the amount of text they've saved. One, like, this is 15 words instead of an entire paragraph. A really, really good change. This is the sort of stuff that the game needs to be doing. Okay, I haven't looked in detail. Like, another really smart. I can't believe I haven't done this sooner, honestly, about all magic weapons being magic attacks. Like, come on. Like, at least we got there in the end. Okay, I'm not super. Okay, now they get terror here as well. Okay. Divine Judgment is not changed. Okay, Immune to Multi-Wounds hasn't changed. It's just reworded for the new version of the rulebook. Oi, there's a lot of stuff. Okay, good. Again, less conditional. Cannot be used in the first round of combat. Yeah, why would you bother having that condition in there? Okay, significantly better. Significantly better. Again, just cleaning things up. Paladin is just gone, so less divine in the army, which I think is good. I saw that Sainted got a little bit nerfed, just got less stat upgrades. But I think that's fine. The Sainted guy was kind of crazy. Where is Sainted? Here we go, 100 points. I don't know if that's up or down. I couldn't see it in the summary section. I guess that's probably down. Maybe it's up because it got played a lot. The Paladin is a new character. Okay. Righteous Smite. And he's not Divine Attacks? Interesting. Okay, so he's actually quite a boss by the look of it. And can he... So he can't take any of the, whatever, the knightly principles, aka big names. What do we got? He can be sainted. He can be a sainted paladin against which failed to wound rolls of close combat attacks. Okay, so he again, like if I'm struggling to read this, he re-rolls to wound. Can anyone explain this to me? Is this re-roll to wound if the target has a special save? Or is this they re-roll their special saves? Failed to wound rolls of close combat attacks. Okay, so his attacks. So he's re-rolling against which the target. Okay, so he re-rolls to wound if you've got a special save. Why not just write that? Come on. Magical attacks. Okay, fine. And then he can buy, I guess, some stuff. Yeah, I won't get too much in detail. I think, again, I'll just try and skip through here. Phase Spirit is just gone. I think that's fine. Any other big changes? I'm not going to read too much in the archers. Like, what are they doing? If they don't move, they get 2 extra rank of shoot an extra rank. Okay. Is that their problem though? The problem for me is not this. I think that horde formation in the rulebook just should give you shoot an extra rank. Sorry, timer froze there. Yeah, horde formation in the rulebook just needs to give you shoot an extra rank regardless if you move or not, and that will solve big archer units to a huge extent because this doesn't. This is just making that condition more prevalent. Yeah, I'll just quickly jump to the summary section and see if there's anything else. Yeah, you can see like the amount of changes. This really indicates that there was something amiss with the book, and a bunch of changes. I think and I'll just quickly touch on my biggest gripe with this book, which is these two here. Like, not only is it perpetuating the whole single model meta that is kind of one of the worst things in the game going around, but why do we need so many variations? Like, I get if you want to have 2 different variations, but these guys are so similar and different. Like, they've got 1 pip different on almost every stat, including armor, including aegis. This one's got a conditional aegis. This one's got a conditional. This one's also got the same conditional aegis as this guy. It's just, I don't know. I don't understand why you need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 variations that are all very, very, very similar into non-character cowboys. For me, this is just like one of the worst thing in the book, honestly. I just find this really annoying for opponents to have to keep track of. And there's so much potential for things getting mixed up with different agility, different armor, like different HP even. I just think I get that you want to have a special knight. I have no problem with that. Just why do you need 2 of these with 5 total variations? It's just like way over the top for me. Yeah, and not to mention like if you've played against these, they're like friggin' strong ads. Really, really hard to get rid of and just very impactful in the game. So I don't know. Maybe I'm just being a little bit of a stubborn, set in my ways, old fogey, and not wanting to learn stuff. But I find these very excuse me, complexity creep for the game. Yeah, we'll see how it goes. Okay, and lucky last are the Dread Elves. I think this is probably the least changed. Let's see if the summary chart backs me up on that. Yeah, okay, so this one, yeah, everything fits on 1 page. That's immediately a sight. I think this overall this is probably the most sensible or low touch, I guess, of all of the updates here. I've kind of skimmed through like losing suppressing volley. At first I was like, oh well, why would I ever play these now? But then actually talking to Dread Elf players, you only get this like once every couple of games anyway, so probably who cares? And the unit is still like quite effective in its role in the army. It shoots, it fights, it scores, it bunkers, everything. Good change, streamlining this. I like that they gave Harpies another role, little sleep attack. This is probably fine from all accounts. Gorgons were like really strong. This, I think, Thunder Packs, this is the biggest mistake that they've made in this update. I think Thunder Packs, I haven't played against the the strong version that have been kind of running around a lot. But I mean, I think they're just gutted now. I don't see, where are they? Here they are. I was looking for tons of blue text, but apparently it's mostly stat related. So I know this unit is very unexceptional now. I think Swift Reform is a good addition, and pretty much any large beast should have this just to avoid being like completely paralyzed. Just doesn't make much sense thematically as well that a bunch of like animals can't turn on the spot. But yeah, for me, this unit is not very interesting. And I think if you just check out the Dread Elf forum, I'm sure that there are people, crying tears of blood around the fact that you've got this agility 2 unit that can't really move around that well and is still just relying on offensive 3. Like, imagine you actually get a dream charge in with this. You've got with 3 of these guys, yeah, because they can't fight in 2 ranks. You get, maybe that would be an interesting one if you want to promote big units. Actually, give them support attacks from the 2nd rank, because at the moment, why would you play more than 4 of these, except for a Blade of Wounds? But yeah, imagine you get 3 of these guys in your min-sized unit. You get 6 strength 6 hits from offensive skill 3 against almost everything. And okay, against a monster, I guess that's good. But again, if the monster is the one getting charge on these, then you've got a very shaky leadership 8 panic check out on a flank. And then AP1 as well is not really doing that much. I don't see why I would ever take these over knights or chariots or gorgons or judicators. So I think this unit might be dead until the next update, unfortunately. Apart from that, what else happened? This poor Dread Prince has just undergone so many changes, and now he's just kind of boring again, I think. And they still, this for me, they've reworded this like 3 times in the last 3 updates, and for me, this is still just so. Units consist entirely of infantry. Okay, so we've got 2 conditions already, entirely and infantry. With more than half, okay, so 3 conditions in the first half of the sentence that are joined by the model. Okay, so we've got 4 conditions. Winning range of 5 conditions. Of a non-fleeing model, 6 conditions. Count as being, okay, so this is the actual effect. Count as being within a flight of a non-fleeing model with it. Like, oh my god. Guys, come on. Like, why does this not just say infantry units joined by the model count as academy trained? Like, and always count as being in range of academy trained. Come on, like we can rewrite this in 30 seconds to make this better, but I don't know why we need so many conditions and exceptions that just make it so user unfriendly. I also think this guy's a bit of a sad story, honestly. Like, Alistair Death, is that +1 to wound always now? That would be cool. Nope. Oh, yes. Yes, okay. So he's +1 to wound always, which is kind of cute. But then does he ever survive to the 2nd round if he doesn't kill you? Probably. But I don't know. Deadly Riposte, I guess they found it too hard to balance it, so they just killed it and get an attack back, which probably works out to be the same a lot of the time. So I don't know. Is he interesting? I guess it kind of depends on the builds. I think this one here is obviously the case of people were only playing him on a mount, so they reduced the on foot price and they increased the mount price, which I think is a sensible 9th age balancing mechanic. Yes, this is obviously ludicrous to still have professional courtesy in here. This is a carryover from when the book first dropped and people were playing the 2 flavors of Exarchs in a unit together. I get just like this mistrusted rule is just retarded. Sorry for the non-PC language, but like, if the model is the general discipline test using his commanding presence, just give it discipline 8. Come on, like how hard is it? It's actually like this creates this ridiculous scenario where you make it if you want to make it the general, then you just don't use the discipline of the general, but you can still use the highest discipline in the unit, which is 9. So you put in a unit of leadership 8 guys, and you say, I'm not using the discipline from commanding presence, but I use the discipline from a character. Like, just come on. Stats are here for a reason. They're so easy just to change instead of another special rule. I also think this is just stupid. Like, what you need bullet points to explain again, exception, exception, exception. You've got one condition, two conditions, three conditions. Just give it like friggin' +1 to cast or -2 to spell, or like I think this is just a case of them wanting to make something that was different from the Slim book when probably the Slim book rule was fine. Or the original one, which is opponents have -1 to dispel, but you have -1 to cast. It does the same thing pretty much all the time. I just don't understand this. So overall, I think this book is still in a good spot. This one is probably more. The strength of this book is already pretty well established. You know, it knows who it is. It's a very blendy, choppy glass cannon army, and the performance of this book is more dependent on how the metagame evolves, i.e., you know, how much shooting and magic missiles and stuff people bring, and also just the overall skill of the Dread Elf player. I think poor Dread Elf players are some of the easiest opponents that I face because they just hesitate too much and, you know, get taken apart. Whereas strong Dread Elf players are some of the most challenging out there just because they understand the raw power of the list and they know how to exploit that and shove and, you know, make tactical sacrifices, but still, you know, rack up heaps of points as their stuff is dying. So yeah. Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed it. I know it's, you know, a little bit of an odd format, and I know it's a long time since I recorded a video, but I had the inspiration and the time to do it this morning. So, you know, happy gaming, stay safe, and chat to you soon.